Let's talk about a huge shift that's happening in the buildings all around us. The places we work and live. It's a quiet revolution, but it's set to completely redefine our skylines and, for many businesses, their bottom line. And it's all powered by one of the oldest building materials we have, wood. So let's dive in and see how this is changing the game for construction. So before we get to the solution, we really need to understand the scale of the problem. Just look at this. The building and construction sector is responsible for a whopping 28% of global emissions. That is a massive slice of the climate change pie. And frankly, for any organization looking to the future, that kind of environmental liability is something we just can't afford anymore. And believe me, the pressure is only going up. Projections show we're on track to build the equivalent of an entire New York City every single month for the next 40 years. Think about that. If we keep building the way we do now, with carbon-heavy materials, we're not just building cities. We are literally locking in a climate catastrophe for decades to come. Okay, so let's break down where this huge carbon footprint actually comes from. We're going to dig into what we call construction's hidden carbon crisis. Most of the time when we talk about a building's carbon footprint, we think about its energy use, right? The heating, the cooling, the lights, that's operational carbon. But there's this other huge cost that's way more immediate, upfront carbon. These are all the emissions from making the materials, the steel, the concrete, and they're all released before the building even opens its doors. And as our buildings get more energy efficient, this upfront carbon is set to become half of all building emissions by 2050. The takeaway here is huge. The actual materials we choose to build with, they matter more than ever. Which perfectly brings us to a really powerful solution. In this next section, let's explore engineered timber. It really is the green alternative we've been looking for. Now, let's be clear, this is not your grandfather's log cabin. We're talking about engineered timber, super advanced wood products like cross-laminated timber, or CLT, glulam, and others. Basically, by binding layers of wood together in smart ways, engineers create these materials that are just as strong and just as reliable as steel and concrete, but with a tiny fraction of the carbon footprint. So what's so great about it? Well, there's this amazing triple advantage. First, it stores carbon. A timber building is literally a carbon storage unit, pulling CO2 out of the atmosphere and locking it away. Second, like we just said, it's incredibly strong. And third, and this is a big one for the circular economy, it's reusable. A lot of these timber buildings can be taken apart and their parts used again, which just slashes the amount of waste. And the impact of all this? It's massive. Research shows that just by swapping out concrete and steel for mass timber, you can cut a building's embodied carbon, that upfront carbon we talked about, by up to 50%. I mean, for an average office building, that's like taking hundreds of cars off the road for a year. It is an absolute game changer for hitting those critical sustainability targets. Now, this isn't just some cool idea on paper. This is a real global movement, and it's picking up speed every single day. Let's take a look at this global timber revolution. And while it feels brand new, the idea has actually been around for a while. Cross-laminated timber, or CLT, was patented in the US way back in 1923. But it was really modern research in the 90s over in Austria that unlocked its true potential. That led to the first commercial production in 1999. So this has been a steady journey of real innovation. And just look at the result of that journey. By late 2020, there were nearly 1,000 mass timber projects either already built or in the design phase across all 50 US states. This isn't a niche thing anymore. It is going mainstream, and it's happening fast. And we're not talking about small buildings either. The Ascent Tower in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, stands 284 feet tall. It's the world's tallest mass timber building. This isn't some little experiment. It's a massive statement proving that wood can absolutely reach for the sky. So how does it store so much carbon? Well, it's actually beautifully simple. About half of a tree's dry weight is pure carbon that it absorbed from the atmosphere. So when you use that tree to make a building beam, you're essentially creating a carbon bank. You're locking that carbon away for the life of the building. And beyond all the amazing environmental benefits, there is a really powerful business case here. People just love being in these buildings. Studies are showing that employees in timber offices are more productive, they take fewer sick days, and they're more loyal to their companies. For any organization, that is a huge return on investment right there. Okay, so we've seen the global revolution, and we've seen the clear benefits for both the planet and for people. So, what does this mean for organizations right here in Vietnam? Well, the opportunity is absolutely immense. For our final section, let's explore Vietnam's timber future.
There's a really clear 4-point strategy for how to make this happen, and it's not about replacing everything overnight. It's about smart integration. First, using hybrid systems that blend timber with steel and concrete. Second, pushing the boundaries in building mid-rise structures. Third, revitalizing our cities with lightweight additions. And fourth, and this one's so important, using timber to build affordable, climate-resilient homes for our communities. Now, for any organization watching, pay close attention to this. Adopting timber isn't just about sustainability. It's a brilliant strategic move. It makes you stand out, which helps attract foreign investment. It opens up new revenue streams, like turning wood waste into high-value products. And crucially, by using local, fast-growing trees, it strengthens your supply chain and can lead to a much faster return on your investment. And you're not going it alone on this. This is a national priority. The Vietnamese government has set a really ambitious target to build a $6 billion domestic market for timber products by 2030. The political will is there, and the economic opportunity is sitting right in front of us.
So, we end with this question. The technology is here, the global momentum is undeniable, and the local opportunity in Vietnam is massive. The stage is completely set for transformation in how we build our future. The only question left is, whose organization is going to be the one to lead the charge?